we'll look at that cosmology in a little while in the Timaeus. But in the Theaetetus, his attention there goes more to the moral order side. And look at the excerpt on the handout from the Theaetetus at the bottom of the first page. The speech by Socrates. Evils can never be done away with, because the good must always have its contrary. In the world of particulars, there are always opposite qualities. Light and dark, hot and cold, dry and wet. Okay? The good must have its contrary, evil. Nor have they any place in the divine world, but they must needs haunt this region of our mortal nature. In the realm of the eternal, there's no evil. It's in this world. Now, we'll come back to that discussion of evil in a moment. But let's get the rest of the paragraph. That's why we should make all speed to take flight from this world to the other. And that means becoming like the divine as far as we can. That is, to become righteous, just, with the help of wisdom. To be like God is the good we must seek. It's no such easy matter to convince men that the reasons for avoiding wickedness and seeking goodness are not those which the world gives. The right motive is not that one should seem innocent and good. There's the world of appearances that the rhetorician was after, those sophists. That's no better to my thinking than an old wives' tale. Let's take the truth this way. In the divine, there is no shadow of unrighteousness, only the perfection of righteousness. And nothing is more like the divine than any one of us who becomes as righteous as possible, with the least possible shadow of unrighteousness. It's here that a man shows his true spirit and power, or lack of spirit and nothingness. To know this is wisdom, excellence of a genuine sort. Not to know it is blind and base. Okay? So the form of the good has moral significance. The form of the good provides the model, the ideal for the moral life. In the Statesman, where he's talking about politics, he likens God, and he uses the term God, to a statesman shepherding his people. Likens the statesman to a shepherd, you see, and therefore likens God to a statesman shepherding his people. That type of care for their well-being. And in the laws, he speaks of God as a self-moving world soul, as if he has erased the distinction between artificer and world soul, and made them one. God is a self-moving world soul who knows all things, cares about humans and their affairs, that's the shepherd, rewards good and evil, and gives excellence to nature as a whole. The God of the laws. Well, that in broad outline is the developing picture of God that you get in Plato. It's fascinating. You'd hesitate to say in the Republic, the form of the good simply, or the Parmenides with the one, but that's a theistic being. You see. And yet by the time you get to the laws, Timaeus, it sounds more and more like that. And add the moral dimensions. The Timaeus, you get the initial impression, is simply about cosmology. But if you read the whole of the Timaeus, the overarching purpose and concern is not about cosmology, but about the moral life, the care of the soul. And he works into that through the notion of a cosmic order overseen by the good, activated by a world soul, you see. So that the cosmology that Plato gets into is a means to the end of talking about the moral order in the individual life and in the life of the city-state. Let me pause there. Any questions? I want to get into the problem of evil, but let's take that juncture first. Any questions? Yeah?
I guess I don't really understand why the form of forms has to be a form of good. Why can't it be a form of love?
Well, yeah. The form of something is what is the ideal, what is the archetype, and the concept of the good is here the concept of what is excellent. It's excellence. So that if you're thinking in terms of degrees to which things participate in form, you see, then at the very crowning top is the notion of excellence, the highest of all good. Now, he doesn't want to name a particular good, you see, but what is fine, what is good, what is excellent. He's not thinking just of moral good, you see, but of non-moral good as well. Notice how broadly we use the term good, you see. We say good day. We speak of a good dog, a good meal, you see, as well as a good deed and a good person. So the word good means simply excellence, quality, ideal quality. So in that sense, it's the umbrella term. Whether you're speaking of goodness in knowing, which is having the truth, or goodness in the arts, which for him is a matter of beauty, you see, or goodness in the moral life, which for him is being righteous or just. These are simply the way in which the good is manifested.
For him, the good was just the most that a form can participate in.
Yes, yes. It's the essence of being a form.
If God is the good, and the forms are created out of created things are created out of his good,
yeah.
then does he say that the form of evil, if there's such a thing, is good?
Okay, legitimate question. Let's plow into the problem of evil. Okay. Obviously, evil represents disharmony, whereas good in the cosmos is a matter of harmonious order, everything fitting into its proper place. Evil is a kind of disharmony. How do we account for harmony and disharmony both in the cosmos, good and evil? Well, he gives different accounts, at least what's officially different accounts in different places. In the Timaeus, he notices that in addition to the operation of reason, the world soul, there is also the operation of necessity. The Greek term ananke, I guess we can transliterate it that way, necessity, sort of the causal necessity of some blind fate. So there are, as it were, blind forces at work in nature, in addition to the good. And some put that together with what he says about non-being as if it were some primal material stuff, unruly, with its own wantonness. Okay? As if Plato is a metaphysical dualist. You have eternal matter, which you can't completely control. And you have eternal soul, reason. And evil occurs because matter, recalcitrant, resists reasonable order. Analogous to the way in which the human body, driven compulsively, subject to forces we don't control, gets out of hand. You get a dualistic interpretation. That interpretation went off more into the Gnostic, G-N-O-S-T-I-C, the Gnostic direction. The main line of thought after Plato interpreting him was more monistic, as if there is not two ultimate realities, but only one. Matter really is non-being, nothing. And what you have then is form trying in particulars to manifest itself in a world of conflicting particulars, necessity of that sort. That becomes an idealist interpretation rather than a dualist interpretation. Everything that exists is of the nature of reason, soul, thought, form. You see. But there are manifestations of that, which are phenomena, appearances, but not themselves realities. Well, that direction comes out in the Neoplatonic movement that we'll be getting into down the track. So there is that uncertainty about this necessity and reason. If you like, you can take necessity to be natural forces. And so he's saying that if you fall out of a window and break your neck, what causes it? This isn't a rational universe, is it? Well, there are natural forces that get you into trouble if you're not careful. Now, in the laws, he makes a different enigmatic suggestion that seems to push in a dualist direction. In addition to the one, or the world soul, he refers to a dyad, D-Y-A-D, a dyad, which is literally a second. If a monad is a first, a dyad is a second. As if there is a second kind of something involved. Does he mean anything more than natural forces? It's hard to say. But the fuller account is in the Statesman, and that's what I've put on the second page in the handout. So let's take a look at that. Second page in the handout, where what he has is certainly not a dualistic thing. It's rather as if you have the interplay of opposing qualities in the physical world. You see, all the way from the pre-Socratics, when they were talking of elements, they were talking of opposing elements. You remember like Anaximander, who, because he found not only wet like water, but also dry, and not only heat, but also cold, refused to identify any one of the elements as ultimate, and talked instead of his apaiwan, that undefined something. Well, Plato seems to have in mind that there are two opposing properties in the physical cosmos. And notice how he does this. Top of the page, listen and you'll hear. There is an era in which God himself assists the universe on its way and guides it by imparting its rotation to it. But there's also an era in which he releases his control. He does this when its circuits, under his guidance, have completed their due limit of the time thereto appointed. Thereafter, it begins to revolve in the contrary sense under its own impulse, because it's a living creature endowed with reason by him who framed it in the beginning. Now, this capacity for rotation in reverse is of necessity, native to it, for a reason I must tell. Okay, you get the picture? It's as if you wind up a spring and let it go. And if you let it go, it's going to unwind. Get it? You've coiled up the garden hose and then you turn the water on full pressure, and it uncoils itself. It's as if there is something resistant to staying put in the hose, in the spring, in the cosmos. Read on. Ever to be the same, steadfast and abiding, is the prerogative of the divinest of things only. The nature of the bodily doesn't entitle it to this rank. Now, the bodily things are worlds of change. They don't stay put. The heavenly universe, as we've chosen to call it, has received many blessed gifts from him who brought it into being, but it's also been made to partake of bodily form. Thence it's impossible that it should abide forever free from change. Yet its movement is uniform and variable in one place. Thus it is that it has received from God a rotation in reverse, the least possible variation of its proper motion. Yes, this negative motion is the least kind of negative you could have. Okay? And there are certain things that happen as a result of that which are necessary to the overall of a finite world, but they're not good. To revolve ever in the same sense belongs to none but the Lord and leader of all things, and even he cannot move the universe now in the one sense, now in the other. For all these reasons, there are many doctrines we're forbidden to affirm concerning the universe. We mustn't say that it moves itself, perpetually revolving in one and the same sense. We may not say that it's God who turns it in its entirety throughout all time, in two opposite alternative revolutions. We may not say that a pair of divinities make it revolve alternatively in the opposed senses. He seems explicitly to reject dualism there. You see? Not two, a pair of opposing deities. We must therefore affirm the doctrine stated above, which is the remaining possibility. In one era, it's assisted by the transcendent divine cause, receiving renewal of life, immortality of contriving. In the other era, when released, it moves by its own innate forces, stored up so much momentum at the time of its release that it can revolve in the reverse sense. Okay? And then the remaining paragraph, its parallel, comes a few pages later. It's from God's act when he set it in its order that it received all the virtues it possesses, while it's from its primal chaotic condition, like that primal chaos, that primal glop, that all the wrongs and evils arise in it. Evils which it engenders in turn, the living creatures within it. When it's guided by the divine pilot, it produces good, but little evil in the creatures it raises and sustains. But when it must travel on without God, things go well enough in the years immediately after he abandoned control, but as time goes on and forgetfulness of God arises in it, the ancient condition of chaos begins to assert its sway. And at last, as this cosmic era draws to a close, this disorder comes to a head. A few good things it produces, it corrupts, so forth. And then the God looks on it again, he who first set it in order. Beholding its troubles, anxious lest it sink, racked by storms and confusion, he dissolved again in the bottomless abyss of unlikeness, he takes control of the helm once more. So what he's doing is depicting sort of a cyclical cosmology. cycles, as it were, of what do you want to say, ordered, rational harmony, and growing disharmony. Some of the pre-Socratics had similar cyclical cosmologies. You remember that Anaximenes, who thought the basic element was air, thought of cycles of condensation and rarefication. Integration, disintegration, that kind of cyclical process, rather common notion to the ancient Greeks. It's echoed later on in Plato's political thinking as he thinks about alternative kinds of government that succeed one another in endless cycles through which a society moves. So that a benevolent kind of tyranny breeds the very antithesis when the benevolent ruler is gone. Look at the chaos in Russia after a heavy hand. Cycle, cycle, cycle. So Plato seems to be thinking along those lines, so that there's inherent instability in finite existence because it's the world of becoming and of change. So evil is a natural ingredient in the natural order, in the finite physical universe. It's a natural ingredient. The problem of natural evil, is then a problem in the very nature of finite being, rather than due to some moral fault. And we distinguish natural evil from moral evil to this day, of course. Now, obviously, that view of evil isn't going to satisfy Christian theologians, but it helps to set up the problem of evil that they have to face, as we'll see in a little while. Okay, other question? Yeah. Yeah, in the forms which are eternal and unchanging, there is no evil. The form of humanness is the unchanging ideal nature of humanness. Okay? It's when you get particular humans, embodied humans, that you get the counter tendency. Yeah. The ideal apple isn't one that's rotting. It's only when you get particular embodied apples that they rot. Of course, deism, the view that God created but isn't actively involved, is really an 18th century development. You could say, if you like, there's some anticipation of deism because God doesn't keep his hand constantly on the helm, to use Plato's analogy. Some see in it, well, as I said, a kind of dualism. In the later Neoplatonic development out of this, there's a kind of pantheism. Now, come on, Plato, make up your mind. Well, no, poor Plato, he anticipates, he precedes all of the clear delineation of those alternatives. He's groping in the dark. Yeah.
I have a question from the very beginning of the lecture.
Yeah.
You wrote that being becoming a non-being. I can see how the non-being would be the privation of all form.
Yes.
But you mentioned also the primal matter. Is that part of the non-being?
Yeah, you see, the question is whether non-being means no eternal form, but leaves open the possibility that there is a uncreated primal stuff.
Primal matter which was never made in any kind of form.
That's right.
But if you said there is such thing as a non-being, then you're speaking back to saying if there is something as a non-being, you can't say there is a non-being.
Yeah, to say there is non-being, in that case, would not mean that non-being is identical with nothing, but just with nothing in particular.
Okay.
Remember that phrase, nothing in particular? You thought it was cute, didn't you, when I said it? It was significant, not just cute. Okay, well, what remains on this topic is to take a run together through the Timaeus selection in the anthology. But we don't have time for that. So let's start up with that on Wednesday, which will be a good way of stirring up any other questions on the subject before we get into the human soul, the microcosm.